Well, speaking of New York, I just noticed there was a new poll, and I figured we could just kind of look at it together.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of encouraging. Before we do that, let me show everyone the last Iowa poll. I know people hate on polls, but here's the last Iowa poll predicting that Andrew Yang had about 5% support.
Wow.
And he ended up getting, in the first allocation, 5% support. So, I know polls can have issues, but they're not. I don't think it's fair. Just because it puts your candidate lower than expected doesn't mean that's a terrible poll.
Right.
On the other hand, for New York City, everybody had talked about this very famous Stringer media poll, and it was like, oh, Yang's leading. He's the top. He's actually number one. And I did a live stream kind of breaking down those results. But, in the back of your mind, you're always wondering, like, well, there was one poll where Yang kind of nationally in 2020 for the presidential, like, broke double digits. I think it was like started with an E. I can't remember. But either way, that was like, yeah, Emerson. Yeah, that might have been it was a fluke. But now we have a second poll for New York City that was just conducted about 10 days ago. So pretty recent. And it's not by Stringer, it's by another polling outfit. So let me just show everybody. This is just released on December 21st. Conducted by Public Policy Polling of 750 likely Democratic primary voters. And if you look here, who's got the most support? Andrew MF Yang, 17%.
Yeah.
Although Eric Adams does have 16, and then a good 40% are unsure. So this is not. Let's not consider this a done deal.
Don't put this by your bedside.
Yeah, but certainly this is it's way better than the 5% Des Moines poll. Basically in Iowa, we were looking like a Morales or a Stringer. And now we're looking more like a Buttigieg or a Sanders. So very, very encouraging. But, 40% is still on the table.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that, and I also heard that, do you remember the viral video of the, big bodybuilder guy going through New York City and giving out $1,000 to everyone?
I don't. What was that?
I don't remember his name, but it was this huge macho guy. And it was so funny. Him and his friend, I believe, they sort of had some online popularity, I assume. Mm-hmm. And so they were walking through the streets of New York City, and they were giving people, this was during Andrew's 2020 run, they were giving people $1,000 a month, or I'm sorry, $1,000 to signify how significant this could be for your life if Andrew was elected president. And I think that's a lot of people in New York do know who Andrew Yang is. So I'm not surprised. I'm not going to be totally surprised, if he does really well, because people know who he is in his home state. It's Andrew Yang. His popularity is rising increasingly by day. And I think that once the Yang gang allocates their time into New York, they're really going to know. So
it's also encouraging to see that when you ask Democratic voters in New York what they care about, obviously the virus is top of the list, but also improving wages and creating more jobs is a close second. And then criminal justice reform is third. And I'm curious, obviously, I think he has a great story. The affordable housing and crime reduction are two other ones. So he certainly, you could argue with the UBI kind of reputation, he's going to have a good story on wages. So for this 17% that care deeply about that.
Yeah.
You could argue that basic income does change the equation on crime, certainly helps with housing. and crime reduction, maybe not as much on criminal justice. So I guess the two things that we're going to need to see Andrew step his game up is probably around coronavirus and criminal justice.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts? Do you think he can go from the $1,000 a month guy to someone who can actually lead the city through this pandemic recovery, but also the criminal justice and police reform? What are your thoughts there?
Yes, I think that Andrew himself, he can recognize a problem and create a solution himself. So, and with people around him, he has a really great team. Assuming that he has some of the same people around him for this, I think that when it comes to coronavirus, there are already great protocols laid out, and I think improving upon them. I'm sure he's already thought of ideas on how to improve those. So as long as it's got to be in the best interest of New Yorkers. It has to be, we have to protect them. We have to make sure that Andrew can offer them and promise that he could have the funding and allocate the funding necessary to keep them safe. I think that's what everyone wants. Most people who are aware of the virus, who want to stay protected, they just want to be reassured that the funding is going to be there for them. They're going to be taken care of. The risk is going to be minimal until we can get the vaccines distributed. And I think that's one of the bigger things going into this run is that, how vaccinations are going to be continuously distributed throughout New York City, right? I mean, do you expect vaccines to be still distributed in time for, or still happening when the primary is ongoing, right? I would say. Yeah,
for sure. It's going to take quite a while.
Yeah, exactly. So since that's going to be happening as Andrew's running, that's going to be a key point, is that how can we keep this up, or how can we improve what's already happening? I think that he's going to have a lot to grasp because we'll be seeing it in real time. So he'll be able to figure that out for sure, and we'll get behind that. And then for criminal justice, I think that he had a great idea with decriminalizing marijuana and letting everyone go and giving them a high five when they leave for their nonviolent drug offenses, because it doesn't make sense to have people incarcerated for a nonviolent drug offense. It does not. So I think that if he could do something of that aspect in New York, or he could sort of push that agenda, it would be successful. So I think he's already had a good record on that. So I think going forward, I think he can hit on a lot of things, but especially jobs and wages and how he can sort of, his whole thing is moving into like the new economy, right? He sees what's going to happen. We have to recognize that our economy is shifting. So in order for he can be the person to lead the way for New York, to adapt to that new economy and to whatever new jobs come in and what old jobs are leaving. So I'm sure it would be a good benefit for New York for him to lead them through that.
It will be super interesting to hear Andrew talk about racial justice, police reform. These are not topics that he's leaned into as much in the past, but it certainly seems like if you're going to win in New York, you're going to have to have basically as fresh and kind of thoughtful a plan for those topics as you do for poverty and automation of jobs.
Yes.
And I agree with you. Like, this is not a guy who just kind of wings it. So I suspect the Yang for Mayor website is going to have a few detailed plans on it. Yeah. I do want to acknowledge people who are supporting this content through our channel membership program. So if you're on YouTube, feel free to hit that join button, and you can help support more content and help us grow this channel. Because obviously we are a little channel on YouTube, but doing my best to bring more data and kind of evidence to these conversations. So first of all, thank you, Kristen Slevin, our EVP, highest level member. And then we're going to go to our next level, our vice presidents, V Lamb, JM Sap, Fat Lamb, Soldier One, Laura Lane, Joshua Frick, Patrick Dunn, and Boyce from Mindful Skeptics. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And then we're going to go to the next level down, which is a hardcore. And we've got Mike, Gene, David, Tracy, DK, Landline, Phoenix, Jackalego, Kirsch, Mr. History Fan, Byram, Mona, Susan, Yang, Robert, Dean, and Stat Nerd. And then at the entry level, but still very much appreciated, are our verified nerds. Helen, Lisa, Sugar, Albert, Brandon, Yes, Brian, Peter, Arez, Hitachi, Your Maman, Jedwiga, Sophia, Gail, Shake and Make, Mike, Doris, Emerald, Nell, Lori, Ben. What happened? That skipped. Hold on. Ben, Roger, Lisa, Christina, Vaughn, Tony, Rasta, Ryan, Jessica, Blair Walsingham, Bike, James, Jalopy, Aaron, Emma, Joel, Spirited, KM, Hui, Stephen, Ira, and Shoni. So thank you all for supporting the Nerds for Humanity content. All the money goes to promoting the channel and supporting the costs of accessing data or podcast hosting fees. By the way, if you like audio podcasts, you can subscribe to us there too.
Yang Gang 2020. Yang Gang 2020. Yang Gang 2020. Yang Gang. Yeah, yeah. Yang Gang